Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the British Tier 8 Premium Medium Tank, the Inferno Chimera. If you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Chimera, it is a tank that I have always enjoyed. Why? Because it's big alpha on a medium tank. It's got 440 alpha on this gun, but in lieu of that, it is horrifically derpy. The gun is pretty awful in that regard. It's got 0.34 accuracy at 100 meters in the build that I have, which is not that great. You've got a 2.67 second aim time, which you really feel. Accuracy during rotation is 1.21 with 2.76 accuracy during movement, which means the aim circle becomes massive and you really feel that nearly 2.7 second aim time. It is really, yeah, the gun handling on this tank is woof, not that great. Add to that, you've got 202 penetration on the standard AP, with 252 penetration on the premium APDS, which has 732 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, with 914 meters a second shell velocity on the APDS. Meaning the APDS is a lot faster than the standard AP, and you will feel that difference quite considerably, especially with how it feels in terms of the gun handling. Because 732 meters a second shell velocity is slow. It's slow. And it means you've got to give a lot of lead to hit the targets at distance. Even with 914 meters a second shell velocity is still way below average. Well, not way below average. Average is about 1,000, so it's still below average, but it's still slow. But you do have that 440 alpha, and like 202 pen does struggle in tier 10 matchups. It does struggle in tier 9 matchups. 252 pen is enough to go through quite a lot of the targets, except for the extremely heavily armoured vehicles like Type 5s or Mousers. You do also have an 11.3 second reload with the build that I run, which is a 2.3k DPM, which is very slow. It does have a slow reload to counteract the fact that you do have very high alpha for a tier 8 medium. But you do have 10 degrees of gun depression, which means you can go hull down on a ridgeline very, very easily. And that is the strength of this tank. That is the key strength of this tank. That is hull down capacity. And that's because the standard Chimera is about 203 millimeters of thickness on the turret front, and that's the same on this one. But then they add 50 millimeters of spaced armor with the Chimera, or the Lion's Mane, on the turret, which means that you can bounce so much off this turret front. It is so good hull down. This turret is absolutely fantastic. It will bounce most shots from most tanks, and it is a very beautiful thing. The hull armor is also fairly decent. It's not brilliant, but it's decent enough that you can get troll ricochets, and you can also use it to leverage situations to side scrape, stuff like that, and pull off miracle bounces too. And also when you hull down and you overexpose the upper plate a little bit too much, because of the angle, it will bounce a good amount as well, it can be quite nice for the Inferno Chimera. On the whole, it is one that I do enjoy a hell of a lot, and that's because of the alpha and stuff like that. And the mobility is also pretty good on this vehicle at 50 kilometers an hour, with a 15.76 horsepower per ton ratio, which means that you do get to that 50 kilometer an hour top speed, but it does feel a little bit sluggish in terms of that mobility. But on the whole, you will hit it. You do also have 486 meters of view range, meaning that you can spot quite easily with for targets, which means you can get good assistance in this vehicle as well when you get to those aggressive hull down locations. But this is one of those tanks that I feel like people might struggle with at times because the reload is so poor, and because the fact that the gun is so derpy. People might struggle to get the best out of this vehicle, which is understandable because, like I say, the gun can be one of those RNG cannons where it just decides, yeah, you know what, I'm not hitting that. I don't feel like hitting what you're aiming at, sir. And then you end up missing loads of shots, and that can be pain. So, yeah, it's one of those vehicles. But I do enjoy it thoroughly whenever I have played it, and that's why I 3-marked it years ago, because I always enjoy playing it. So what do I run in terms of crew and equipment on the old Inferno Chimera? Well, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun, Trap Mechanic, Rapid Aim, Advanced Loader, Gun Stabilizer, Optics. Optics, be able to spot for myself, get that 486 meters of view range. The gun stabilizer to get the accuracy during rotation and movement down as low as possible, because it is terrible if you don't. The advanced loader to try and get as good a reload as possible on this tank, because the reload is poor. And then also I run all 3 gun perks for the same reason I listed for the gun stabilizer, to get the gun as good as it can be, because it is atrocious if you don't. Then I also run rapid aim because the turret traverse is 29 degrees a second with rapid aim, which is only 1 degree a second faster than the hull rotation speed, which is still fairly slow for the turret traverse. So in this first game, you've seen us get 2.2k damage so far with 1 kill. We blocked 2.1k damage as well because we managed to block a couple of shots from that griller. I did figure that griller was in that bush because what you saw when I came around the corner at D8, it was the only real spot that anyone could have spotted me coming around that corner. So it was like, he's got to be in those bushes there. We took a blind shot and we ended up hitting him blind, but didn't do any damage. We tracked him in place. And then he ended up firing at us because he went, hey, what was that? Thankfully bounced on us, and then because of that, we actually spotted him and managed to farm him up. And you saw the strength there of the Chimera, where we managed to side scrape and just keep ricocheting the shots. And when he was hitting our turret front, he was firing heat, which meant that, yeah, he just kept getting his heat round absorbed by the spaced armor, because it is 50mm of spaced armor on this turret front, and heat rounds just get automatically absorbed by it, which can be delightful. And you've just seen us shut down the Tyrant, making that our second kill of the game for 3,044 damage. A pretty good game there for the Inferno Chimera on Airfield, with matchmaking that wasn't the best. We ended up finishing with the Lavish Lilos medals, the first class, 1676 base XP. A pretty nice game there for the Inferno Chimera in a tier 10 game. Lavish Lilos medal for killing 2 tier 10s. We'll always take that. Always take that for a tier 8 medium tank in a tier 10 game. It's nice when you have those games against the tier 10s. And like I say, because of the armor, sure, the DPM is terrible, and especially you will feel how bad that DPM is when you are facing tier 10s generally, when you're having to trade and duke it out with them, because they will reload for similar alpha so much faster. But the thing is, you can trade with them. And that's the nice thing, is that you can go, hi, I'm a hull down tank, bounce the shot from their shot, generally, from their gun, and you go, yeah, I bounced that, and then deliver 440 alpha into them. And you have that capacity to do that because the turret armor is so good on this vehicle. And then you have the trading power from this gun. Yeah, that's why I always found it so satisfying to play. It's just you have occasional games where the game goes too fast for you and your DPM isn't very good, so you end up not doing much damage purely because you just don't reload in time and can't keep up. And sometimes, like I say, because the gun is so derpy, the gun just goes, ha, no, and misses all of the shots you ever want to take, and you cry. You cry every time. So, yeah. We're on to the second replay, and this second replay is on Fisherman's Bay. It's a tier 9 game, and this is one of those games where we just sort of play very poorly at the start, lose a load of hit points, and then somehow make it work. So we're putting shots now into this Carnarvon. We bounced the 320 alpha round from the back, and I really want to get rid of this Carnarvon if I can, because he's in a bit of an awkward spot. So we pull around the corner, aim for his lower plate, and we go to the left and hit his tracks. But he gets shut down by the T-30, so that's the Carnarvon gone from his really aggressive spot. Their artillery is still trying to get shots at us. We see the Jagdtiger down below, and the Jagdtiger pens us. And I'm sitting there going, how did the Jagdtiger pen me? Surely he's not supposed to be able to do that. I mean, I think he actually hit the cupola. The cupola on top of the turret is pennable, but you can see from the lion's mane, it is incredibly difficult to actually hit because most of it's obscured. And somehow, I think because of the elevation and where we were positioned, he actually found the shot, putting us down to 540 hit points. So I'm like, you know what, that's not working. I'm not going to go sit in that position if it's not working. There's no point. We're getting fired at by artillery consistently. I'm just not going to bother. So we're going to go try and attack the Senjutsu, but I don't particularly want to do it too much because you can see we do take a hit from the back with the SU-101 fired heat through the side of our turret, and we are now down to a one-shot with 129 HP. But we're hull down. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to keep poking over for as long as they let me. I'm just going to keep poking over and putting shots towards this 257. But every time I get spotted, I'm going to hold off until I get unspotted, and I'll try and go again. Because I don't really want to poke over while I am spotted, and they definitely know I'm coming for them. So I look over to see if I can get a shot at the Senjutsu, but I can't quite see him. He is just below the ridge lines. And we get kind of lucky, really, that we bounce a shot off the side of our turret, and we missed the shot on the GSOL 1008, showing the gun handling there. You've really got to let it aim to be able to actually hit those shots, because it is a bit of pain. But we are firing the APDS, the 252 pen APDS, because 252 pen will go through that Object 257. 202 penetration probably won't. Might go through the lower plate, but even then it could still ricochet. But the main reason for the APDS is because if that 257 turns, 202 penetration is not going through the side of a 257. 252 might, though. So the shot that we've got here, 202 penetration, probably won't go through if we hit. But 252 will. So we just looked for the shot of that 257, and sadly the gun, you saw the gun there, the gun just went, hello, and sadly missed. And like I say, this 127mm gun that this tank has, because it is a 100, it's a quick-fire 5-inch gun, I think it is what it's actually called, but it's a 127mm, that's the caliber, which is really good for overmatching quite a few plates, by the way, that's quite handy. This 127mm gun can be an absolute troll. So I decided, okay, I'm only at 1300 damage and 1500 assistance. I'm going to switch up the play. I'm poking over too often. I'm starting to draw far too much attention. The 257 have moved off. So we're going to go and change the angle and try and again work this flank and see if we can move our team on that are stuck at F8. So we're just looking for shots at the Jagdtiger, who is looking at us. And sadly, we end up only doing track damage. I'm just looking for that lower plate, though, if I can get it, because that would be nice. But he's making it very, very awkward. But the shot does fly true, straight through the lower plate, 479. Those are the juicy rolls we like this tank for. It hits so hard when it hits. And the big if is, obviously, when it hits. But we're just looking to try and, again, shut this Jagdtiger down. But he's turning for the threat that is behind him now, which is the heavy tanks. They've not really pushed, but he has a TD that did poke round to try and shoot him at F0, sorry. So that's why he's turned around. I'm just waiting for him to make a mistake. I'm waiting for him to push backwards, give me that free shot into his ass, and then we can put him down to one shot and go push him to get rid of him. But the heavy tank is now pushing into the Jagdtiger, which means if I make him a one shot, that'll get rid of that German Tier 9 tank destroyer. So we put a shot into the back of him, 493. Oh, it's so tasty. And then now he is actually a one-shot for those heavy tanks. So if the heavy tanks decide to actually push him and attack him, they will be able to get rid of that guy. But the T-34-3, not T, but the KV-4 gets shut down by the Jagdtiger. So I decide, okay, I'm going to push in and push to a better place to get shots at him. But as I do that, the Su-101 pokes around. I go, oh boy, I'm going to die now. And there's the upper plate armor. We get lucky, number one, that we ricocheted that. But the upper plate armor is so that it can ricochet shots like that. He hit the upper plate at an extreme angle, and that's why it ricocheted. And we get very lucky that we get very lucky to be alive, if I'm totally honest. We should have died there. But you take the rough with the smooth in this game. RNG is a cruel mistress, and sometimes you can get penned in the stupidest of ways, and you sit there going, how did it pen me? So you take those ricochets when you get them. Plus, he is a Soviet tank destroyer, and he was on the move full chat, right? So naturally, his aim circle must have been massive. So there's two tanks left. There's a Waffle Panzer IV and the artillery. We know the artillery was down in the corner at like A7, something like that. I'm pretty sure. Or the M53-55. He was down at C9. So no doubt he's back in the corner at B8 or something like that. Now, well, he's actually spotted now. So we've put a shot through the side there of the M53-55. 538 because we've loaded HE, which has 64mm of penetration for 530 damage. And I've loaded HE because of a Waffle Panzer IV and the fact that it was the M53-55. So we hit the M53-55 for a big amount of damage, and we've still got the HE loaded for the Waffle, which we know is somewhere possibly in those houses, because it shot at one of our friends down in that corner. So we're just waiting for him to get spotted. Sadly, he is not in a position for me to shoot at, which I was really hoping he would be. He's behind some houses. So we're just going to close the distance. We know where he is, so we're going to close the distance, see if we can get close enough to be able to cut off the fact that this gun is so derpy. Just looking for shots. We've got the HE loaded, so we've got to be really careful where we're firing at this guy because of the HE. We fire at the turret, but we hit a wall, and that's the pain I'm talking about with the HE that we were trying to avoid. We hit a wall, and it blew up before it got to hit the Waffle Panzer IV, so no more damage there. But we do get to shut down the Waffle Panzer IV with the final shot of the game. And we finished the game with 4.2k damage, 2.3k assistance. The victory with that 1520 blocks, because you bounced quite a bit off the turret. The ace tank of the Confederate with the 2035 base XP. A really nice game there for the Inferno. Two nice games for that in pretty bad matchup for it. And yeah, fully capable tank. What you want to do is get yourself into a hull down position and just slap with this gun, because that's the way it goes. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
A great success.